Hey everybody, Mark Herman, aka LA Bengals fan on most of the major platforms, and I am joined here by Devin Circus and Jake Circus of the Jake Circus podcast, and this is the Jungle Talk Free Agency Recap. So it's so fun. Well, first of all, before I forget, if you don't subscribe, please subscribe. It's all we ask. Show by fans, for fans. Just support the channel. And then, Jake, tell them where they can find your stuff, and then I'm going to give you props because I hit a three-team parlay. You had five college games up. Iowa State, I'm trying to remember all of them, and I parlayed the last three and ended up winning the parlay card.
Wait, okay, I know I gave out Auburn to win the SEC. What else? What other conference title did I give out?
Five games up, but two of them had already.
I had a great weekend. I had a great.
Right, I'm
on a 15-4 run right now.
So I was going to look and see, but it was Iowa State and then like two later games, and I didn't worry on any of the three. And it was and I just wish I had bet more. That was the only regret I had was only so.
Yeah,
so they can find your stuff because you, like I said, they should be following you, especially if you're gamblers. We're gamblers, so so we have a component to the show.
Just released a podcast today. I wasn't sure if I was gonna get one out. Got one out with my good friend Jonathan, who is an absolute college basketball sicko. So we went through pretty much the whole bracket. Gave out some. We did an underdog draft for the first round. So underdogs we think are going to win outright. And yeah, it's a pretty good pod. Jake Circus podcast on Spotify. So check that out. All my bets will be on Twitter tomorrow morning. I have like 14 of them, probably more coming. So yeah, it's got some good reads on these games, and it's a really fun time, man.
Yeah,
really fun time.
I love March Madness. It's a fun tournament. So let's jump in. It's so funny because we do these shows and we did it early. We were what, 2 hours into the legal tampering period when we did our last show. We were talking about, okay, so we know Mixon's going to stay because it's $6 million, and the running back market had been defined by Swift at $8 million, and then all of a sudden, we trade Mixon shortly thereafter. So, hey, like I said, that didn't age as well, but I was happy. For Mixon because he ended up getting like a $13 million guaranteed. We were never going to give him that. He was going to make $6 million from us and be done. He got so now he's up to $9 million making this year, $4 million guaranteed for next year, and it's a 3-year deal. So kudos to Mixon. Like I said, and Zach Moss is a more than capable person to plug in. He had a really good year backing up Taylor last year. So. What do you think?
The Bengals would much rather go with the committee than have the work horse type back, and Zach Moss fits the mold, the system perfectly, and it's Chase Brown time. If Chase Brown is getting more carries and more touches than Zach Moss, we're going to be in a really good position, I think.
Yeah, and we told people at the end of last season, if you're in a dynasty league, pick up Chase Brown. So you should, if you listen to us, you already have him on your roster going into next year.
And my response is, if you're in a dynasty league and Chase Brown's not rostered, that's a dynasty league I want to be in because he should be rostered.
Yeah, so let's but I had him. So and then we re-signed Von Bell. What a steal. We ended up Carolina completely overpaid for like a 1-year rental. Similar to Russell Wilson, we're only paying Bell $1.2 million, the veteran minimum, just to offset the money he's getting from Carolina. So
not only I'm sorry to jump in on you,
Mark. No.
We had Von Bell for 3 or 4 years. He leaves last year, goes to Carolina, gets a great contract. Plays for Carolina for 1 year, gets released. We get a 6th-round draft pick for him. And because his entire salary is guaranteed, we're paying him the minimum 1.2. Carolina's paying the balance 4.8. He's back on our roster as safety depth, and we have a 6th-round pick for it.
Yeah, well done. Actually, we wound up. So what happened with the whole compensatory thing, they ended up, and it had something to do with Orlando Brown not making the Pro, something. But we end up with, instead of 2 6s, we get a 3rd.
It was. I read in on that, and he's not on the show, but he always watches. He was right. We told him he was crazy. He usually is. He did see an article.
Yes.
But yeah, basically, it's not only tied to contract, but it's tied to performance of the players. And Jesse so outperformed Orlando Brown, is my understanding, that it nets us a 3 when we thought those two were going to wash out.
Yeah, no, and a third is so much better than 2/6. I mean, you could draft a
Oh,
starter
yeah.
right there. So,
Oh, yeah.
it's not to say you can't draft a starter in the 6th round, but you're more likely to grab somebody who's going to make an immediate impact in rounds 2, 3, 4. So,
Or
Yep.
yeah,
or they can get aggressive and trade up, which is what they should do with that extra pick.
yeah. Well, we'll see what they do. Let's go through the rest of the signings.
Or it's just Mark. It's
Yeah,
also more you can give to the Vikings. Okay, I'm not
Oh,
even going
yeah.
there.
yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
Yeah,
even
it's
Oh,
going
gonna
there.
I
I'm
am
kidding.
I am so sick of all this Justin Jefferson. I have a friend whose mother just told me she spotted him at an Applebee's outside. It's like, shut up. I'm so
It
sick
is.
of
I
the
will say
JJ
it is
talk.
funny. It is funny that that took on, and I think this was after the show. That took on such a life of its own and started picking up. It didn't make like Adam Schefter type recognition, but that was 100% fan driven, and it took on a life of its own. So yeah, it got annoying. It wasn't real. I'm
Oh,
more focused on trading for to the Patriots for Marvin Harrison now, but that's a whole other story.
right.
But it was entertaining the push that Bengals fans got with that. It was a very entertaining couple days on Twitter.
Yeah, no, it was crazy. And then Sheldon Rankins. We didn't talk about him. On our show, we had just signed Geno Stone. We talked about how happy we were. I mean, that's an amazing signing. That's such an upgrade for us. And it really started what was a very good free agency for us. But Sheldon Rankins, when Reader, this was actually before Reader signed a 2-year deal with the Lions, but getting him, I didn't realize how good a game he played against us when we played him. I mean, you can go on my Twitter feed. There was one of my followers, Bernie, shared some footage of him against us last year. So you can go ahead
It
on
was
my Twitter.
dominant.
Yeah, and Sheldon, I'm really happy with that signing. I'm ecstatic.
Yeah. I love
So
what he apparently said to Zach Taylor first time he met him when he came into the room. Did you guys hear that one?
No,
Apparently, he walks in, gets introduced to Zach, and the first thing out of his mouth was, "Why the
why
f
didn't you
didn't you
double me?
slide on me?"
yeah.
Because he just owned us that game.
Yeah. Oh, it was like I said, there's some footage on my Twitter you could see. Happy to have him on our side of the ball. So now for a change, let's let Jake jump in and say something. Usually you have
Sorry.
yeah, no problem. No. We've been all excited. So Jake, jump in with your thoughts.
Rankins is a good player. He's a little bit older, but I've got no complaints. 2-year deal, just simple stuff. Basically, what this is gonna do, is it's depth. Like they didn't really get a star or someone who's gonna get 12 sacks, but they have more depth up there at a position that they didn't have at all or like ever. BJ Hill and Sheldon Rankins had the same amount of pressures last year. They each had 42. So whenever they sign a nose tackle or draft one, because they don't have one on the team right now, it's their biggest need by far. It's not even close, especially after signing Brown. When they get one, they'll have a solid connected defensive line that can rush the passer and will be a little bit worse against the run. I hate saying that because obviously DJ Reader's gone.
Devastated.
But DJ and Rankins are two different players. Like I saw
Yeah.
some people saying that Rankins was the replacement for Reader, and no, they
No.
still don't have a nose tackle.
No.
Their run defense as of now is going to be worse than it was last year, which was a problem. But having more depth up front will always kind of negate any weakness that you have because you can just rotate guys in and just play whoever is fresh, and they haven't been able to do that in a while, or maybe even ever. So it's just another body in there. He stayed healthy-ish throughout the year. So I've got no complaints on it. But again, they have to keep doing stuff. Like they've added one piece to the defensive line, they've added 2 safeties, and then a tight end and a running back. So overall, like when you look at the outside of what the team still looks like, they're better than last year, but their holes right now are, and they added a right tackle too. And their holes right now are very clear. They still need a corner, and they need a starting nose tackle, maybe even 2.
Right. No, I agree. And I was actually hoping because we got Rankins first and Reader was visiting Detroit, but I still had hopes that maybe, that we could work it out and he could come back and we could re-sign him if the price was right. But he stays in.
Detroit. Oh, the price was right. I'm like pissed. Like Detroit gave Reader way less than everyone thought he was getting. Especially like even with the guaranteed money. I don't have it on me right now. But I remember my first reaction was, that's it? Like I get coming off the quad and it probably scared the Bengals away a little bit. But if you're scared of the quad, you have to have someone feasible else in mind. And it doesn't seem like they have that yet.
Well, yeah. Well,
Go
go ahead.
ahead, Mark.
No.
I was just gonna say that the takeaway, one response to what you said, Jake, and a takeaway that I read about a lot is, yeah, I think people got confused with it was Rankins or Reader, because of the money component. It never felt like they were going to sign both of them. The interesting thing about the Reader contract is, if memory serves me, he got 226, very similarly to what Rankins got, but
Yeah,
only
222.
What's that?
222 with 7.5 guaranteed. They gave him a $5 million signing
yeah,
bonus. It was nothing.
It was nothing guaranteed. And what I call smart people that are in the know were saying, that I read a lot about, is that really tells you a lot about what the Bengals, by not even offering that much, and the Lions think about the injury. People are reading into that saying, this dude ain't playing this year, or excuse me, this dude ain't playing for at least 4, 6, 8 games. And
Right.
it feels like the Bengals just didn't want to dabble in that, didn't want to mess with that.
No. So I
But
agree.
again, like the same way of thinking, and to my point earlier, this is an overall position that they refuse to address for the last since Geno, like literally since Geno,
Right.
they have not had this type of guy. And it's that DJ, when we originally signed Reader, it was like, holy shit, like they came in last minute, outbid a team like Denver to get a guy that everyone knows is good, but plays a position the Bengals don't care about. And I think the overall effort or maybe willingness to compete with Detroit last minute definitely, again, showed their hand, like you said, Dad. But I still think that as an organization, they needed to have a handful of guys because DJ Reader was incumbent. They had to have known the medicals weren't going to check out. They had to have known this in January and February. Why
Right.
is this now a problem now? And it's March 20th and you have no one at that position. So that's the way that I'm looking at it. Cause I'm fine if the medicals are bad and I don't want to sign a player that's not going to play at a very important position where we're not strong.
Right.
But there needed to be more effort given to this search of this position. It's not just signing 30-year-old Sheldon Rankins to split snaps with BJ Hill, because the other guy in the Bengals run a 3-4, so two big guys up front, always. That's their base. That's what they've switched into recently. They don't have anyone at
Right.
that spot.
Well,
But let me ask you this, Jake. Is there anybody else out there? I just pulled up defensive tackles that signed. Obviously, we're not going to sign Christian Wilkins. I've never heard of Grover Stewart. He signed for the second
Grover
most
Stewart.
money.
Grover Stewart is someone that I was looking at, but he signed, like you said, yeah, way too much.
Right.
Yeah, he got 2 for 26. Justin Jones, the second highest money. Then Sheldon Rankins got the third most money. DJ Reader was fifth highest ranked defensive lineman that signed. Guys like Daquan Jones, Raekwon Davis, that you and I talked about as being fill pieces. There's not a lot of DTs out there.
Right.
And I don't think you can plan on going all in on Sweat from Texas in the draft, and unless they're going to take him in the first round, which would be, I don't know, but I don't know what else. To your point, Jake, I agree, but I don't know what else is out there. Are there guys still out there? Do you have a pulse
Well, I guess,
on that?
I guess that they don't like Tart. I don't really understand why.
Is he a nose tackle? I know he's a D lineman. Is he a nose tackle?
Yeah, he's not a sacks guy, and he's a run defender. He started all
Right.
16 games last year. Like Dana reported that it's not what the Bengals are looking for. What the fuck are the Bengals looking for? You just lost DJ Reader. So you have to find a guy that can do the same thing or at least very similar. Yeah, I don't. I mean, he wasn't great last year with Houston. He was great with Tennessee the last couple of years before Houston signed him last year. He wasn't great last year. But like you got to get someone there. And like if they're that confident that I forgot his first name, but Newton, the kid from Illinois, is going to be there at 18, You really going to trust him to step in there, play
But
AFC
he's
North
an end.
football,
He's a pass rusher. He's not a nose guard.
plays
Johnny
inside?
Newton?
Now
Are you
they would have no, he doesn't play from the outside. He's a big boy. Now they would have to shift some of their philosophy. How exactly? I don't know. I'd have to look more into that because I have not watched Newton's film at all. But I've been told that he's good. But
he's
they would
very good.
probably have to change some philosophies with their base defense, at least to some degree. But again, that's not my job to figure that out. Everyone that I've seen thinks Newton's a great fit, even with the Sheldon Rankins signing. But this again, it's a position that they just have never drafted. I don't think they're taking a defensive tackle in the first round. They never do. I don't know why they would do that. Now maybe like, well, is Miles Murphy going to move inside? Like I cannot wait till the first press conference for Zach for OTAs. He's like, oh, Zach Carter's looks really good this week.
Right. Well, we'll see. You know what? That's I think, and who knows,
Sample.
maybe they've got somebody that they think is a sleeper that they can grab in the second round. We're still drafting 18 in the second and the third. Maybe they see
Mark,
something. Yeah.
Mark, at this point, do you trust the Bengals with second round sleepers? Do we need to list them?
Well, no, I'm trying to still forget the Jackson Carmen thing. But
Drew Sample
Drew Sample. Well, hey, we re-signed Drew Sample, so
and my boy Tanner Hudson.
I was going to say, okay, so we get 1 year deal on with Trent Irwin, 1 year deal with Tanner Hudson, obviously the big 1 year deal for Trent Brown. So we've got the Browns on each end protect two of the biggest tackles, by the way. I mean, our offense
Combined 715 pounds in
yeah,
Brown.
that's a lot of humanity right there. So, but
So it seriously looks like that this is going to be the weakest position on the Bengals on the Bengals defense because there ain't anybody out there. I mean, I'm looking at like Austin Johnson, who's terrible. Like Tier Tart's the big one. Linval Joseph, who's played like 2 games the last 2 years.
right. No,
And
yeah.
he's like 80.
I was going to say,
So
he's still playing? Yeah, no, it's he's
The backup is a free agent too. Josh Tapu. He's gone.
so
they,
all right,
they could bring him back. He's not terrible.
I still think, I mean, and we're obviously going to do a draft preview show, but I still think we go offensive tackle first round. I think even with the fact that the Trent Brown's only 1 year tells me that we're still going to go offensive tackle in the first round. So
that's what I think.
Yeah, what's really interesting, and Jake and I have been talking about this, and in a flipping of roles, I've become more of the draft geek than Jake. He's moved on a little bit, but there are several teams that there's about 4 or 5 marquee O linemen that are projected to go in or around the first round, and there's a tier of like 4 of them that are top 20 type guys. But there's 2 or 3 teams that have really shored up their line in free agency that will take them out of a first round lineman, most likely the Jets and Giants being forefront. And right. Those elite guys might drop down to 18. It could wind up being a real good situation.
Yeah, I think so too. So, but all right. Well, anybody else you want to talk about in terms of
who did the Giants? Who did the Giants sign to fix their offensive line?
Oh, you're gonna make me look. I don't remember. They
signed Jermaine. They signed Jermaine, so he'll probably play right tackle for them.
Right.
They Runyon. All right. The 2 other guards they signed are pretty shitty.
Yeah, but the Jets with Tyron Smith.
Yeah, they got Moses. Smith. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, that was big. The Jets O-line will probably be pretty good next year.
Yeah,
they weren't bad. They weren't that bad last year.
So, well, Becton comes in. We had Becton and Tart come in for visits. And Becton obviously had a terrible PFF. I mean, his just numbers were terrible. And it wasn't a replacement. But when we signed Brown, like a couple days later, I thought, well, the Becton visit probably didn't go well because everybody was like, well, Pollock knows him. And, so maybe he thinks there's a reclamation project he can do here. But when we got Brown, when we signed Brown 2 days later, I thought, all right, well, the Becton visit didn't go well. So,
yep.
And which is why I was happy about Cody Ford. Is Cody Ford great? No, but he's a big body. It's a depth signing. His re-signing. So and then your boy Tanner.
But-
Oh, and we missed Jaceki. We didn't even bring up the fact that we did. And I see him. Tell me if I'm wrong on this. I see him as more of filling Tyler Boyd's spot. He's just a big Tyler
There's
Boyd
a
over the
lot out.
middle.
There's a lot out there on that. I think 60 to 70% of the time he lined up in the slot last year.
Yeah.
And
So
with Hudson and Sample still there, I think Jake, you said this maybe in a tweet or when we were talking. It was a tweet. The Gesicki signing, and I don't want to steal your thunder, but I'm going to give you credit because this is something that Jake was good on picking up last year. Is you could tell what the Bengals were running based on what tight ends were in the game, and Gesicki allows for us to be a lot more flexible in that. Go ahead with that, Jake, because that's all you.
I don't remember how much it was last year, but pretty much the Bengals would bring in Stanley Morgan, and everyone would be like, "Okay, they're running the ball," and they play action just didn't work. Now I think they fixed it towards the end of the year because their play action was actually solid with Browning. It wasn't with Burrow, but it was actually pretty good with Jake Browning. But yeah, they would just bring in Stanley Morgan, and there would be a run.
Well,
it
was
like based
Morgan's on New Orleans now, so we don't have to worry about that. So, and the losses were expected. The people that we ended up losing, Jonah Williams, we knew he was going to go. Reader, I'd hoped he'd come back, but maybe it's a sign. We've already discussed that. Tyler Boyd, we knew he was going. And like
he still hasn't gone.
Well, he still hasn't gone, but he's not signed either. So, and the Mixon, like I said, I'm happy for Mixon, but we got Zach Moss, who's probably a better pass blocker. We got him
big time.
For basically we got him for 2 years for the price that Mixon was going to be for just this one. And like I said, and I have no animosity. I'm happy for Mixon getting his $13 million guaranteed because he was never getting that with us. So overall, I've been really pleased with the way free agency went.
We still haven't seen what the Bengals got for Mixon. I'm assuming it's a 7 or a 6. The Texans had a boatload.
It was a 7. It was a 7.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
I never saw it. Okay.
Yeah. And they took out his contract. They took his $6 million, and he's going to be a support, a safety blanket for CJ.
If we can draft
he's guaranteed $13 million guaranteed for 2 years, 9 and 4.
Right.
So they're
if
paying
we can use that 7 to find Robin's replacement and draft the punter, I'm down for it.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, we didn't get our punter went to a different team. Where did he wind up?
Wanted him,
but we weren't going to pay him that.
No, he didn't go to the Bills. I don't know. Yeah, he got a lot of money.
He got a lot, way more than we were going to give him. So
speaking of specialists, I don't know if you saw the contract that. What's the Eagles kicker? Jake? Is it Jake
Elliott?
Jake Elliott got like 4 years, 4 years, 24 million. The Bengals are going to wind up free agency with a little extra money, and hopefully they use it because this guy's coming up next year. He's going to get a contract. So I wore Big Ab Money Mac because I think he could get his extension. They could throw some money at him this offseason since there's going to be some left over.
Right. So, and we expect Chase's deal probably June. Similar kind of timeline. We're gonna extend Chase.
I'm gonna say August.
August, okay. But that's gonna happen this year. So, any other comments we want to do?
Hey, the Chiefs are going to be Thursday Night Football again. Maybe they'll drop Jamar's just like they did Burrow's right at kickoff.
Right. There you go.
Didn't work out well for us this year. Maybe they'll go back to that if they figure something else out.
Right. So, and then everybody was crying. They wanted Marquise Brown, and I was like, "Let Hollywood Brown." So he wound up on because Bengal fans want everybody. Whenever somebody's released, everybody starts going, "We need to get this guy. We need to get this guy." It's like, we can't pay everybody. And then obviously, and this is coming off of all the Justin Jefferson stuff. So I was like, the sightings, the guy was seen all over Cincinnati for like a 1 week period. And I don't think he was ever in the state of Ohio. So
no. One quick thing before we hop off. Like I think the Bengals feel pretty fine about their receiver room right now. I mean, Tyler Boyd didn't give them much anything last year anyways. And you expect Chuck and Yoshi to take a step forward. So they're looking at a room of Jamar, T, Irwin, Chuck, Yoshi, and whichever receiver they draft.
Right. No. So let's in closing. I want to do biggest surprise, and it can be with the Bengals or anywhere in free agency. But your biggest surprise, and then your biggest disappointment. So, and who wants to go first? I can go first. I don't. It's ready. All right. Well,
I
Yeah, I
forgot
can
my
find
mine.
biggest
mine.
surprise. My biggest surprise is I didn't expect us to have this good a free agency period. I never envisioned that we would grab a Geno Stone. I never envisioned that we would get Trent Brown. So, I mean, my biggest surprise is just how well we did. Are we complete yet? No. I mean, we've already pointed out that nose tackle is a big need, but we plugged a lot of holes with some quality people, and we upgraded positions or made lateral moves that saved us significant money. So, I mean, overall, my biggest surprise is just how well we did without a big slash signing. There was no Hendrickson, there was no Reader like years past, and getting Von Bell back, what a gift. I mean, you look at everything as a whole in free agency, and my biggest surprise is just how well we did. That's my biggest surprise.
Yeah, the Bengals continue to be very strategic in plugging holes. They don't just throw money at people that hopefully work. And for the most part, they've been really, really good at not only plugging the holes, but also picking the right guys. It's been
Yeah,
really, really impressive for what is this, the fifth off season now?
yeah,
2019 was the first time. The
yeah.
fifth off season
Reader
where we've
started the
spent
whole thing, and
money.
then
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And it's
So,
been fun. It's been fun. It's
well,
like we had a list and it's like, all right, got one of those, got one of those. Biggest, I don't know, disappointment, surprise. We need another cornerback. I really wanted Fuller. There's a couple guys out there. We really need a corner. And look, you never want to go into the draft having to pick something. I still, as much as we need a corner, I mean, there's going to be a couple good ones there in the first round. I don't think we go corner. I think we still go O-line.
I do too.
And yeah, no, it was great to watch. In terms of a big surprise, I think the biggest surprise on a big picture is the activity of the running backs in the first 2 days and some of the contracts that some of these guys got. With Josh Jacobs going to Green Bay and then Aaron Jones going from Green Bay to Minnesota. One interesting thing is how many freaking players have switched teams and stayed in division. Just off the
Yeah.
top of my head, Saquon Barkley, Patrick Queen,
You know,
there were a couple others.
Geno Stone.
Geno
Stone,
Stone,
yeah.
Aaron Jones. Really, really interesting.
Yeah, they'll make for some great storylines. The return of this guy or
Calvin Ridley, another one.
yeah, no.
yeah, Ridley.
Yeah. Jake, what do you got for your biggest surprise, biggest disappointment? I'll save my
Well,
disappointment to close. So,
I'll just you guys hit on everything in terms of Bengals, so I'll kind of say how stupid some NFL teams are for making these awful moves that like free agency moves in the NFL are so easy to predict if they're going to be good or bad. Like it's if you overpaid for a guy that's not that good, the contract is going to go shit on you. Like the Gabe Davis contract is absolutely awful. How many times have I
right.
said on this show that Gabe Davis sucks?
I
Like
thought
what are
about
they
you when he
like?
got that money. I said, Jake's head must have just blown up.
Like I feel so bad for Trevor Lawrence. They did absolutely nothing except for signing Gabe Davis to just an absurd contract. They let Calvin Ridley walk. Like I kind of understand that because Tennessee gave him $24 million a year, but whatever. Um, Aaron Jones to the Vikings is almost as bad as Josh Jacobs to the Packers. Tony Pollard to the Titans makes absolutely zero sense. The Bears did fine with Allen, but like they signed so many old guys. Like, what are they doing signing Kevin Byard? There was so many good safeties on the market, and they chose Kevin Byard. That was stupid. Yeah, and the Panthers gave a guard like $40 million guaranteed.
You
So
know
that
what?
was kind of
The
funny.
Panthers paid a ton of money for Hayden Hurst on 1 year. The Panthers paid a ton of money to Von Miller. If you had told me last year that we could lend Von Miller to the Panthers for one season and then get him back at the veteran minimum the next year, I would have done that deal
Wait,
all day long. So the
Von
Panthers,
Miller's Von Miller signed
I
with the
mean, not Von
Panthers?
Miller, Von Bell. So
Oh,
yeah. But if you had told me that we could have, their signings don't make any sense whatsoever.
yeah,
So,
they gave Robert Hunt like $35-40 million guaranteed. It was
well,
just
Yeah, I was
I
just
get like
looking
there's
it up.
no way that contract looks good in 2 years. There's
It's
no
the
chance.
third highest contract that was given out in total money.
Robert Hunt.
If what I'm looking at is right on Sport Track.
Well, while you're looking at that, I'm going to throw out a couple
5
more.
years, 100 million.
I'm going to throw out two surprises. They stay in our division, but not in but they're outside the Bengals. Is number one, how does Baltimore think that signing Derrick Henry puts them over the top and makes them a Super Bowl contender? It was like, why don't you get Lamar to play a good game, against Mahomes? That's how you get to the Super Bowl. Not Derrick Henry. We've shut down Derrick Henry when he was on Tennessee. It doesn't make them a contender. It's a name, and I'm not dissing on Derrick Henry, but the fact that the fan base automatically thought that was their ticket to the Super Bowl, that was a surprise. And then my other one kind of bums me out is the Steelers. They actually did really well. The Steelers did getting Patrick Queen. $5 million is all they've committed at the quarterback position, and they've got Fields and Wilson. I mean, kudos to the Steelers. They were very active, out of character. So that was a surprise for me outside of the Bengals, was how well the Steelers did in free agency. So
Yeah, Steelers did really well. One thing about everyone's going nuts about Henry. It's so stupid. I don't necessarily think that this doesn't make them the Ravens are a Super Bowl team every year. They're going to be in the mix, but they're taking away carries from their best running back. Keaton Mitchell's their best running back. I don't care if they have Derrick Henry.
He's going to be out at least half the year.
So.
Oh, that's right. Okay, I take that back. But still, Dobbins is coming back. I get
Dobbins
exactly coming back. We've said that 7 times in the last 8 years.
Yeah,
but he's a free agent too. They didn't want to spend the money on him.
But he's a walking
injury,
Achilles tear.
Yeah, no, it's.
But to be fair, it's also contagious in that room.
Yeah,
it happens to them all. So maybe Derrick Henry will get one. He'll get one too, and they'll be fucked. I don't know. Not rooting for. I'm not rooting for it.
No. We never root for anybody to get hurt.
Maybe that's what happens, and it just.
So, it does seem though that the Ravens seem to have the most injuries, and they seem to have the most injuries in preseason and camp. And it tells me maybe there's something going on with their training staff that they're not.
They used to have a problem with their training field, their summer field. It was 2 years ago or 3 years ago where they had 3 running backs blow out their knee.
Yes,
in a 4-day stretch. And then it came out that there was a problem with their field and they replaced it. Right. So who knows what else is going on, but I remember that distinctly.
Yeah. So, well, I'm going to give you my biggest disappointment, and it's something that I know neither one of you are thinking of, but for years and years and years, I always talked about how I thought Chad Johnson was our best ambassador. He was always out there rallying the troops, talking about how great a place this was to play. I mean, he was just our best ambassador, and I can't believe we couldn't find him a job somewhere on the Bengals, and he has to go work for the Raiders. I mean, come on. There had to be some place. It's not a salary cap thing because he wasn't going to be a player. So I just kind of disappointed me. That's all. That when I saw him signing with the Raiders, I thought we couldn't have found an office spot for this guy.
Guessing he just wants to live in Vegas.
It could be. So, but I just thought, he could still have lived in Vegas and worked for us. I just thought when media had turned on us on Burrow, it was guys like Chad that stepped up and said, "Are you kidding?" and really refuted everything. Even when Carson Palmer chimed in and said bad things on the other side, it was guys like Chad and TJ that stepped up. So I always felt like Chad was our best ambassador, and I would have liked to have seen us find a spot for him. That's all. I've said it for years. Why can't we find a spot for this guy on the payroll? So yeah. I think yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to change it up. So you finish up.
No, I'm done. That was it. So that was my biggest disappointment, was seeing him join the Raiders staff. So
all right. So I've been kind of the conspiracy theorist of the group in the last season or so.
Sure.
Throw one thing at you, and we can leave on this if nobody has anything else. I don't know if you saw the tweet the Bengals put out yesterday with all the draft picks when the trade with Mixon and the compensation picks came out. There's a new logo on that, and people were pointing that out on Twitter. So I don't know if you saw that. Jake, we didn't even talk about that. I don't know. Maybe something new's coming. New logo.
Yeah. So I did see it
Just
up.
to keep you
It
on your
was
toes,
subtle
Jake.
because it was up in the upper right corner of the graphic, but
It was like a growling tiger, growling
Yeah.
Bengal tiger.
so, but all right. Well, if you don't subscribe, please subscribe. As you can see, this is a fun show. We just by fans, for fans. Please support the channel. Hit the thumbs up on the video. It helps us out with the YouTube analytics, and hit the bell so you know when our videos come out. And Jake, tell them where they can find your stuff. Oh, and are you going to give us a winner before we go? Because the tournament starts tomorrow.
Yeah, let's do it. What do I want to give out? Okay, I'll give out two. And then I'll give out a special one that'll make my dad pissed off. Number one, James Madison
Have Long
plus
Beach
5.5.
State, that's fine.
No, I don't have Long Beach State. Arizona will beat him tomorrow. James Madison plus 5.5.
Okay.
Nevada money line, and then Nevada to make the Sweet 16 at plus 350
Ooh, okay. A futures
because
too.
they are absolutely beating Arizona on Saturday.
There you go.
If they get there.
And we already can see Devin's response to that. So there you go. But yeah, if you don't subscribe, please subscribe and follow Jake, please. Like I said, it's worth it. I checked in on his Twitter feed. I saw 3 of the 5 games hadn't tipped yet. I threw $25 on a 3-team parlay and won. And said, "Thank you, Jake." My biggest regret was that I only threw $25 on the 3-team parlay. So that's your biggest regret. That's a pretty good regret to have when it's a winner. So you should be following Jake. So.
Yeah, check out the newest edition of the Jake Circus podcast, March Madness preview, came out today on Spotify, and then follow me on Twitter at Jake Circus.
All right, and we'll be
on X.
On what the app formerly known as Twitter. I'm going to go with the
Heath
Prince.
will be so excited you said that, Jake.
So yeah, Heath would be.
Who?
So,
oh,
Heath, the man on Twitter that I don't even tag because he doesn't even have an emoji. He still just has the generic whatever it is, the silhouette.
He's too old. He doesn't know how to use it.
Yeah, it's too confusing for him. So, but all right. Well, please subscribe. Please support the channel. We'll be back in a few weeks, probably with a draft preview. We'll see how things go, unless some big news hits. So, with that, I'm going to say enjoy March Madness and hooray, everybody. Take care.
Hooray.